Hello everyone, my name is Min Yang and I'm a final year mechanical engineering student who happens to be a huge music enthusiast. I can't see any of you, so forgive me for no eye contact. Well, today I'm very excited to share with you something I'm very passionate about, music. Well, not just music, but today I'm going to talk about memory by music, a change you can make. Well, today, under the theme of change, I want you to change your perspective towards music and see how, in return, music can change the way you think. Today, let's not look at music as a form of entertainment or a subject of study. Instead, let's look at music as a tool. Nice. So, this tool I'm about to share with you today is very accessible, right? And you don't even have to learn music to be able to use this tool, all right? And in terms of this tool, what you can do with it is that you can use it to your own advantage in terms of memory. Now, to do that, you might be asking, what does music have to do with memory? Now, first, let's establish what are the elements that constitute music, right? In most literatures, you will see that these are the elements that define music, all right? But for our purpose today, we will be talking about rhythm and pitch. And later on, we will talk about a little bit about harmony and yeah. So through examples, you will see how the media today has evolved into an entity that taps the power of human psychology to get messages across. And through examples, you will also see how we can use music to our own advantage in our daily lives in the context of memory. Now, without further ado, let's move on to rhythm and pitch. Now, here are the basic definitions of the terms. So, rhythm tells you how different sounds are spaced across time, whereas pitch tells you how you perceive the height of the note. All right? Now, let me demonstrate what I mean. So, right here, I have two clips that will be played at the same exact speed or tempo, as we call it. Now, the only difference is the way the notes are spaced. So, let's hear it. So as we can see, in the second clip, the notes are more tightly spaced than the ones in the first clip. So we can say that the second clip has a faster rhythm than the first. And what about pitch? Well, you can see in general for both clips, the notes are getting higher and higher in pitch towards the end. And now you might be sitting at your seats asking yourselves, what does this have to do with memory? Well, there's a story behind this. So, quite a while ago, I was working for an engineering company as an industrial trainee, and along with other employees, I wasn't allowed access to mobile phones, right? And as a millennial, not having a phone was a huge inconvenience for me, and I believe for you guys as well, right? Because I was so used to using, my mobile phone to record information. And when I don't have that, it really meant a lot of inconvenience to me. So one day, when I was working, something went wrong in one of the assembly lines. And upon performing some investigations, we found out that a whole batch of rubber gaskets were defective, right? So part of my job was to record the part number of the rubber gaskets for further actions to be taken. And then I realized, oh crap, I did not have anything to record the part number with. So what would you do in my shoes? I mean, were you in my shoes? What would you do? Well, everyone, let's take 5 seconds and look at the number I'm about to show you and remember it for 5 seconds and see how well you can remember it, okay? Right. How many of you says it's A? Please raise your hands. A. Anyone says it's A? Wow. B? Nice. What about C? Nobody? That's amazing. D? Right. So what did I do? Well, my musical sense kicked right in. So I thought to myself, after looking through the numbers, I was thinking, why not add some spaces in between? As you can see, a pattern emerges, a rhythm emerges. And what's more interesting about this rhythm is that it agrees with what's happening in the numbers. So for example, 228, short, short, long, 778, short, short, long, and so on and so forth. So you see, by strategically assigning rhythm to a piece of information like that, remembering this information becomes much easier than just plainly repeating it over and over and over again in your heads. Now, just for the fun of it, let's do one more, all right? Again, 5 seconds to look at the number, and let's see how well you do. Ready? Right. A, anyone? A? What about B? C? Right. D? That's interesting, right? We have different responses for each answer. Well, the answer is this. Now, instead of using rhythm, let's use pitch. Now, how do we do that? Well, let's assign a comfortably low pitch for the number 1. For example, 1, right? And the greater the number, the higher in pitch it gets. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. It doesn't have to be exact, right? So then you see that 0 at the back. You know what? Let's ignore it. Who needs it anyways? So what we can do now is we can do this. We've assigned the pitch. And try to do something further. Let's add some rhythm like that. And what does this sound like? It is amusing yet amazing. What we've done is we've encoded this string of information using musical rhythms and pitch such that the newly formed information makes much more sense than just the raw data itself, right? So you can assign any rhythm, any pitch, any favorite tune you like for this purpose, all right? And it is particularly useful if you can only vaguely remember let's say your phone number or card number. So for example, if you can't remember which numbers go into the blanks, if you can remember the tune, you can definitely eliminate all the wow. That's nice. I need that slide. Yeah, so if you can remember the tune, you can definitely know which are the wrong ones, and you eliminate them, and you finally arrive at the right numbers. So for example, okay. Now let's move on to a slightly trickier topic of harmony. Now, to make things simple, to keep things simple, let's think of harmony as a layered cake, right? Cake lapis, right? Cake. So to form the most basic harmony, what you need is a bass note, the lower layer, the bass, and then a third and a fifth. So you have 3 notes stacked together. Right? So harmony is essentially a combination of sounds played simultaneously to give meaning and direction in the music. So using the cake analogy, there's practically millions of varieties of cakes in the whole world, and each of them has its own unique flavor that decides how you feel when you're eating them and after eating them. Right? Make sense? Now, over there we have the most basic harmony. We can go further by adding more layers. You can even change the flavors. So for each configuration, there is this unique character that's associated to it. And even for the same configuration, you and I will have very different feelings towards it. So using the cake analogy, these are my favorite cakes from Secret Recipe. The one on the right, it feels light, it feels thin, it feels airy, it feels comforting. And it makes me want to go, you know. And the one on the left, it is thick, it is moist, it is rich, it is satiating, so to speak. It doesn't make me go, it makes me go, right? And the same thing happens with harmony. So when someone plays something like this, you may say it sounds sad. But to me, it could sound hopeful. It sounded beautiful, right? So to summarize, each harmony is unique, and you decide how a harmony feels like and sounds like to you. All right? Now, moving on. Using these points, let me show you an example that is very relatable to Malaysians here. Can anybody still remember the famous Pizza Hut special delivery commercial? How many of you remember that? Many, right? So, can you tell me the phone number to the delivery service? Anyone? Yes, great. That's a good one. So, well, back then when Pizza Hut launched its delivery service, they created a jingle that has been stuck in many of our heads for many, many, many years. And here is how it sounds like. 1-300-882525 Pizza Hut special delivery. Pizza Hut. Wow, the memories, right? Now, the question is, what makes it so damn, memorable? What makes it effective? So, three things are going on here: rhythm, pitch, and harmony. Now, for the rhythm, as you can see, rhythm is assigned based on the English pronunciation of the first 6 digits. So 1-300-88. And what about the last 4 digits? Well, since there are only 2 distinct numbers, 2 and 5, we can just assign 1 note for each of these numbers. So 2, 5, 2, 5, 2, 5. Right? And what about for the case of harmony? Now let's take a look again. As you can see, the same phone number is repeated multiple times using different harmonies, as shown by the different colors on screen. But this means that the same phone number is repeated multiple times using different emotional connotations, right? And this is what makes it so effective. It is just like listening to the same story repeatedly, multiple times, only it is in a different language every time it's repeated. It is difficult to get any of the details wrong. Now, the use of music to not only encode information, but also to form a 3-way connection between memory, emotion, and music has seen an increased prevalence in recent years. So, for example, when you hear this, Spider-Man, and if you listen to this, LG. Now, for the next one, I would like you to continue to complete the jingle. Ready? 1, 2, 3. I'm right. So that's the point. So music has changed the landscape of the corporate sector, and apart from making huge impacts in the entertainment business, and this has changed the way messages are relayed to the public. And it is through masterfully crafted music that ideas are engraved into the consumer's minds effectively. And this change here is bringing very promising results. Increased profits and increased brand awareness. These are all the results of ingenious use of music in advertising. Now, how do we use this in our daily lives? Right? So, imagine this is the first time you are hearing these names. For example, in the phone call between you and your boss. So maybe, hello, Min Yang. So you'll be leading a team of 4 people, Jenny, Alexander, Gary, and Paul for project A. Brief them about the project by this afternoon. Now, since you're new to this company and you don't know any of these people, you think, well, maybe I'll send them an email. And then you remember, oh, crap, I forgot to record their names. So, what should you have done? Right? So, you should have added an extra word there, and then you should have made a song. One, two, three. Jenny, Alexander, Gary, and Paul. Jenny, Alexander, Gary, and Paul. Jenny, Alexander, Gary, and Paul. Jenny, Alexander, Gary, Paul. Wow, that's a very ridiculous example. Well, what am I trying to sell then? What I'm trying to say is music can become a tool for us that can be exploited with whatever ways we can do. And you don't even have to learn music specifically to be able to do that. So, in fact, music exists everywhere in many different forms. The way you talk, the way you run, the way you walk, they are all physical manifestations of pitch and or rhythm. All right, and we humans have the ability to seek patterns in many different things in this world. And it is this ability that is so powerful that it can be used to learn and retain new information. And since music is just filled with patterns, why not we use our ability to our own advantage and use music to aid in our memory? You see, there's literally thousands and millions of possibilities music can be exploited in this aspect. Just think about it. Today, we just covered pitch, harmony, and rhythm. What about instrumentation? What about texture? What about tempo? What about the different elements in music? These are also known to have psychological effects on us. Well, that's for another time, for another session. Now, the question is, does it really work? Well, consider not only the future possibilities, but the already existing applications. Movie soundtracks, commercial jingles, and advertisements. Why do they work? Well, studies have shown that we use the same parts of the brain that's responsible for memory and emotions to process music. And according to the neuropsychologist Dr. Lutz Janke, music is encoded in our brain by the perceptual memory system, which organizes auditory information into rhythms and melodies. So in short, our brains organizes memories using pitch and memories. Well, today, I've shared with you a tool that is as powerful as it can get. And it doesn't care whether or not you're good at music or not. And if you're open-minded enough to accept this new idea and change your existing ways, then this change is definitely worth making. Even if you're skeptical about its practicality for a second, it's all right, because it's not about finding the best method. It's about the awareness towards other methods that exist that can achieve the same goal. After all, it's our decision whether or not a change is needed, right? Now, the question is again, is it really worth the change? To quote the famous Mr. Henry Ford, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. With here, I end my presentation. I thank you all for being such an attentive audience. I hope we had more time, and thanks for coming to my TEDx talk.